Hey, how's it going? My name is Liam, and welcome back to this Stardew Valley playthrough. In the last episode, we finished on a romantic note during the Night of the Moonlight Jellies, and now we're here on the first day of fall, so without further ado, let's get right to it. On the morning of day 1, I collected my first harvest of oak resin from the tappers I had placed last season. I then ran all over the valley collecting forage along the way. I was hoping to find enough forage to allow me to craft fall seeds. I then went to the beach and found this ornate fan, which I donated to the museum. This earned me the Treasure Trove achievement, as well as a cute skeleton and a rare crow as a reward. I also gave Harvey a gift of grapes. As I walked through the forest, I found some mushrooms, which meant I could plant some seeds on the first day. And I then returned to the farm and planted my seeds, and placed my new decorations around the place. And that brings an end to the first day. On day 2, I headed up to the mountains and spotted Linus going about his usual business. I then headed into town where I found Lewis and Robin putting up the special orders board. This meant I would have another source of income aside from regular quests and forage. I accepted a job from the wizard to hunt for the prismatic slime and googled what I needed to do. Because what even is a prismatic slime? While running through the forest, I found a palm fossil. I then went to the mines and did some slime hunting. I didn't manage to find the prismatic slime, but hopefully I would manage it in the next 5 days. On day 3, I collected my first harvest of maple syrup, so I took some oak resin and some syrup and headed to the community center. I donated them and collected my reward of an autumn's bounty. I accepted a quest from George to give him a frozen tear before heading over to Clint's to break open some geodes. I donated some artifacts before heading to the secret woods, where I was freaking ambushed. How were these slimes all so well coordinated? Anyway, I managed to turn it on them and wipe them all out before carrying on my merry way. I returned to the mines to continue slime hunting, but I didn't find anything. I'm starting to get a little worried here. On day 4, I found some fruit in the cave that my little bat friends had left for me. I gave George the frozen tear he had requested, and I also found a copper bar in the trash. Not sure who would throw this away, but I'll take it if they don't want it. I then spent the afternoon mining. While I was in the mines, I managed to complete one of the Monster Hunter goals by killing a Dougie, so I quickly went over to the guild to collect my reward, which turned out to be this little hard hat. Cute. I returned to the mine where I didn't find the slime I was after, so only 3 more days to find it. That night, I reached level 7 mining and level 7 combat. On day 5, I donated some things to the community center, which earned me some fall seeds, which I would plant after my current rotation. I went to Cindersap Forest, where I bought a nautilus shell from the traveling merchant, as well as this red couch. I like couches. I placed the couch in my house before making my way over to the mines. On the way, I donated the nautilus shell before continuing on my way. I didn't find the slime I was after, but I did manage to find my first ruby. I headed home and called it a day. On day 6, I donated my ruby to the museum, and later I went to the mines and found this double jade deposit, which just seemed really special. I encountered a sun face thing and it dropped a gold bar, and I reached level 97 without any success and headed home. On day 7, I found several mushrooms scattered about my farm. I find it really satisfying to pick mushrooms, so this was a bit of a special treat for me. While running around town, I found a rusty spoon. I went beachcombing and found an oyster. I gave Harvey a gift and went to Cindersap Forest. I found more mushrooms in the secret woods, sticking with today's theme. I also got a sweet deal on a cherry sapling. I also got a sweet deal on a cherry sapling at the traveling merchant. On my way to the mines, I donated the oyster from earlier and was rewarded with crab pots, which would, I headed to the mines where I did some resetting to try to find the elusive slime, and by a stroke of sheer luck, I managed to not find it on my last day. So, sadly, no super special slime for me. On the plus side, it meant I wouldn't need to come to this hole for a little while, and I could focus on some more interesting things, like cutting trees, or, cutting trees. Day 8 marks the beginning of blackberry season, and much like salmonberry season, I am a huge fan. I accepted a quest from Linus to find his basket. I collected all my oak resin and harvested my first rotation of crops before planting a new one. I ran around picking berries and stopped to collect Linus's basket. I also gave Harvey a gift. I continued picking berries, and by the end of the day I had collected 91 in total. On day 9, I got a letter from the mayor telling me about the Stardew Valley fair. I would need to prepare some items for the Grange display, so that's what I'll be working on this week. In preparation for winter, I planted some trees. I'm going to need a lot of wood for all the buildings I want, so I'm getting ready now. I planted the trees and fertilized them before going out and doing some more berry picking. I then went over to Clint and bought the gold axe upgrade. I continued berry picking before calling it a day. On day 10, I returned Linus's basket to him and received nothing as a reward. Little cheapskate. I went around picking berries and ended up with over 100 in just one day. I returned to the farm where I smelted copper bars and did some decorating and redecorating. I'm planning a little area behind the shipping bin for some more trees to make it feel more like a little forest in and around the entrance to the farm. After planning it out, I called it a day. Day 11 marked the final day of blackberry season, so I ran around collecting berries and donated some to the community center, earning myself 3 tappers, which would come in very handy. I accepted a quest to kill some ghosts for the wizard before heading over to Clint to collect my gold axe. I also found a smallmouth bass in the trash. I saw another squirrel drop something from a tree and immediately cut it down. Just kidding. I spent the rest of the day picking berries and ended up with 232 in just one day. I think that might be some kind of record. On day 12, it was raining, so I headed up to the mines to do some ghost busting. I slew a few ghosts and made a beeline for the wizard's tower. I turned in the quest and continued on my merry way. I did some stump chopping in the secret woods and felled a few trees outside the wizard's tower. And back at the farm, I did a little decorating before calling it a day. On the morning of day 13, I set up a little smelting area to the side of my house. I also took off my hat because I was tired of looking like Builder Bob. I went to town and accepted a quest to kill some red slimes. I went to the mines and was greeted by this red slime with a star in its head, and it dropped a yeti tooth when I killed it. So this replaced my obsidian edge as my new weapon. I killed the remaining slimes and continued mining. I managed to find a mushroom floor on level 99, and just as I was about to complete it, I found this warp totem. Because it was getting so late, I panicked and used the totem before making it to level 100, so I need to do that all over again. Still, I made it home in one piece, so that's something. On day 14, all of my pine trees had fully grown, so I could start chopping them down in preparation for winter. I then went to the community center where I donated a mushroom. I gave a gift to Harvey and searched around for Lewis. I turned in the quest and collected my reward. I continued walking through the forest and bought a dresser from the traveling merchant to store all my clothes and hats. I went back to the farm where I did some more tree felling, and I did some decorating and stored all my clothes before calling it a day. On day 15, my second rotation of crops. On day 15, my second rotation of crops was ready to harvest. I collected them all and planted some more before selling what was left over. I also found an orange in my bat cave, which I could donate to the community center. I went to town where I gave Harvey a gift. I also donated an artifact to the museum. I then accepted a job from Robin to collect 80 hardwood for a bed she was making. So I went to the secret woods and chopped all the stumps there before doing the same back at the farm. That evening, I prepared all the items I would need for my Grange display at the fair tomorrow. That night, I made over 10,000 monies off of the forage I sold. On day 16, I watered my crops before heading over to the fair. Today's goal is to earn enough star tokens to afford all the shop items, including the mysterious star drop. I set up my Grange display and got Lewis to do the judging. My items are made up of a couple of Autumn's bounties, a diamond, an orange, some maple syrup, and just lots of mushrooms. And just like that, I won first place. For the rest of the day, I just bet all my tokens on green, trying to win enough for all the items I wanted. By the way, this took forever and it was super frustrating to bet on these tokens. It honestly took me like 30 minutes. Anyway, once I had enough tokens, I bought out the shop and ate the mysterious star drop. It reminded me of, yes, foraging. I left the festival and put on my new hat. I also put out my new scarecrow and laid out my carpet before heading to bed. Also, I forgot all my stuff at the fair, so that brought me great joy. On day 17, I donated an orange to the community center. I also cut some more stumps in the secret woods and on my farm, and I laid out some paths behind my shipping bin as well as a few fences. I cut down all the pine trees I had planted and called it a day. On day 18, I accepted a quest to get Evelyn some refined quartz before collecting my items from Lost and Found. Thank goodness for whatever update brought this into the game. I found a Nautilus fossil on the beach, which I donated to the museum. This earned me another little rare crow. I then spent the whole day running around cutting down every tree in the valley. And there are a lot of trees. I also chopped up all the stumps I could find, which meant I had enough hardwood to complete Robin's job. I called it a day and reached level 10 foraging. So that's done. For this, I chose the botanist perk, which meant that all forage would now be iridium quality. The next morning, I headed over to Robin's to complete the wood gathering job. This earned me 2,000 monies alone, so that's pretty nice. I headed into town and watched a cutscene involving Harvey. And after that, I gave Evelyn her quartz. For the rest of the day, I went mining. I managed to find a pair of dark boots, which replaced my old Firewalker boots. I reached mine level 100 and earned my second star drop. Woo! On my way home, I had a chat with Linus. He taught me how to craft wild bait. Wow. Thank you so much, Linus. I headed home and hit the hay. The next day, I watched a frog Kermit himself into the lake. I went mining that evening and found a mushroom floor. I got a squid ink drop from one of the sun faces and reached level 108. I ended the day and reached level 8 combat. I also made a lot of money from all the iridium quality mushrooms. On day 21, I went over to Clint's to break open some geodes. I got lots of minerals as well as my first iridium, and I ended up getting 8 in total, so this is some real progress right here. I donated some artifacts to the museum and went to the community center to complete the boiler room. I was rewarded with a furnace and a dazzling display by the Junimos. I danced with this little Junimo under the light of the star before heading out. Back at the farm, I placed my new furnace and smelted my iridium ore. I went to the mines where I reached floor 110, where I picked up these groovy space boots. That night, the Junimos repaired the minecarts and I reached level 8 mining. The next morning, I awoke to find this giant mushroom had sprouted next to my house overnight. This place really is looking pretty magical. I harvested my last rotation of forageables and collected my iridium bar before putting everything in the shipping bin. I went over to Robin's where she was showing off her new bed design. Fancy. I went into Pierre's to buy some tree saplings, and I also gave a gift to Harvey. I accepted a job from Robin to gather 1,000 wood in a week. So, here's to all the trees I cut down last week. Feels bad. I planted a whole new grove of pine trees and fertilized them before heading to the mines. I managed to squeak my way through to level 115. I'm only 5 levels away from the bottom now, so we're almost there. I called it a day, and that night I made 27,000 monies. Nothing special. The next day I started working on a little project for my fruit trees. I also found a pomegranate in the back cave. In town I bought the steel axe upgrade from Clint. Then I returned to the farm to work on my fruit tree grove. The idea is to have an outdoor sitting area with a bench and a table for picnics, as well as a deck overlooking the pond. The next morning I went over to Robin's and got her to upgrade my house. I then donated the pomegranate to the community center. I gave a gift to Harvey, then made my way back to the mines. It was time to reach the bottom. I made it through the last few floors without any problems. I collected the skull key and steeled myself for my next challenge, Skull Cavern. I headed home and went to bed. The next morning, I went to the community center and bought one of the vault bundles. At this point, I needed to unlock the bus so I could get to Calico Desert and Skull Cavern. I also earned some fertilizer, you know, that stuff that Pierre was advertising a while back. I still have no idea what it's for, but anyway. I went and collected my steel axe from Clint and bought the gold watering can upgrade. For the rest of the day, I went monster hunting. While doing this, I managed to find a second magnet ring, which replaced my small one. Then I went to bed. The next day, I found some glass shards on the beach, which I donated to the museum. I then built a few paths to line my little park area. And I spent the rest of the day hunting for rock crabs in the mines. In all my searching, I only managed to find one crab. Wow. But I did get plenty of copper, so I crafted some more furnaces. On day 27, I earned the Moving Up achievement for upgrading my house. Now I had a kitchen and more space, finally. It was getting pretty cramped in that little cabin of mine, so I spent some time redecorating and enjoyed the new space. I went outside to where my pine trees had grown to full. I spent the better part of the day just cutting all the trees down and completed Robin's job in the process. By the time I was done, I had burned through most of my energy and 2 field snacks. And afterwards, I went to Robin's and bought some decorations for the farm, as well as 2 end tables. I did some decorating around the entrance to the back cave before making my way to town for the Spirits Eve festival. Collected my golden pumpkin before calling it a day. The next morning, I received a cake from my mom in the mail, as well as a letter of congratulations from Robin, which included a recipe for a new kind of chest. I found this prehistoric rib, which I donated to the museum, earning me this beautiful bear statue. I also found a ruby in the trash, so yeah. I placed my bear statue next to Grandpa's shrine and just spent the rest of the evening admiring the farm. So, here we are again at the end of another video. Thank you so much for joining me on this adventure. It's been a real blast playing this and making these videos. I can't wait to see how things progress during this playthrough, and so far we haven't met any of the goals I've set out to complete, so there's still much to be done, and I can't wait to share those things with you. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.